Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Wine, Women, and Words. And with me, of course, is Michelle, who she technically, you can, we're having technical difficulties still, so we got to figure out what's going on, and we might have to do some improvements over the week and figure out, maybe do a different program or something. So she will be texting in her questions to me because our guest, which I am so excited about, is now, Michelle, we talk about this all the time, that we should get the pronunciation correctly.
I know.
And we always forget. Is it Etaf Rum?
It's Etaf Rum.
Okay. I was right the first time.
Oh, sorry.
We're going to be talking about A Woman Is No Man, which I left mine downstairs.
It's so pretty.
It is. I was loving photographing it with like bricks and flowers. I was having so much fun with that. Such a gorgeous cover and a gorgeous book. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, just diving into the book, for those who are listening who haven't heard about this book, can you tell us a little bit about it?
It's a story about 3 generations of Palestinian American women who live in Brooklyn and who are struggling to overcome the demands of their culture with their own individual desires and what it means to be a woman.
Mm-hmm. I love it. It's so succinct that you put it all together in there. I love that. Now, with creating, the characters are so vivid and the story is so steeped in reality, it feels like. I think Michelle actually texted me when she first started the book, and she was like, is this fiction or is this nonfiction?
That's really good. Thank you. I mean, that was my intention when I was writing it. I wanted to portray a world that was authentic to my own life experiences, and that meant that a lot of the events that occurred and the themes were nonfiction and were semi-autobiographical. But for me, fiction is fun, and fiction is more powerful at portraying truth than sometimes the truth can be. And so I thought it would be really interesting to take this very real story and frame it in fiction.
Absolutely. And then for one of the things that I was really loving about it was just the struggle for the immigrants, both culturally, to hold on to their culture, because it wasn't like they, I want to say, chose to come here outright. Because I think if many of them, if they could stay in Palestine, they probably would have, in my opinion. And then adjusting to that life here in New York. What was it like having to create that conflict in there?
Well, I mean, I didn't really have to create the conflict. It's inherently there. You have these immigrants who are in this novel. Farida, which is one of the 3 women who I follow, is a product of the refugee camp. So she grows up in the refugee camps, and her husband, after she has children, really cannot stay in the refugee camps any longer. So she thinks the American dream, let's go to America. And they come to America, and her son Adam is married to Ezra, the second, one of the second female that I focus on. And then they have a daughter, Dea, and she's this first generation American. So it's like these 3 perspectives of what it means to be an immigrant, and even what it means to be the product of immigrants. So Dea is 18 years old, and she's a first generation Arab American. She's born and raised in Brooklyn. But it's this idea of loss and displacement, not having a home, not belonging anywhere, not feeling like that you're Arab, and not feeling that you're American either. It's just it's a very tough conflict for all of those women.
Absolutely. And it was portrayed so well. And I got engrossed. And it's hard for me to come up with questions for the book, because it was just like, I just love it. And it was just like, okay, it was like you dropped the mic after you ended the book. Which I think in this world, instead of mic drop, I think we should have book drop.
Yeah, I know.
I think that should be the phrase. There was a total book drop at the end, like boom. Once I got to the ending, and I can't wait for Michelle to get that far in the book as well. Because I found myself feeling pity. I don't want to say feeling sorry for, or just really feeling pity, just feeling for Farida, for the journey that her character takes. Because it's so easy to hate her in the beginning, But then as you start to see what some of those cultural influences that she had that created who she was, it was very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm glad that she came across that way, because it's really easy to write something that is very one dimensional, where, things are black and white and there are villains and then there are victims. And I wanted to kind of play with what that means. Like, who are our villains always villains and our victims always victims? Could victims become villains in a sense?
mhm,
Or vice versa.
mhm. Absolutely. I'm just checking to see if. Okay. Oh, Michelle, you've got a question, Michelle? Okay, one moment. Okay, we'll let you we'll let you text your question here in a minute. One of the things that really played through the book, there was a theme through the book, was literature and the importance of literature and reading for the characters. Um, why was that as an important element for you to have in the story?
Growing up in an immigrant home, I was very, very sheltered.
Hmm.
And so a lot of the relationships that you have growing up that define your youth, that define you as a person, I never really had those experiences. And so as a kid, I always found myself learning about the world through books, learning about how people interacted with each other, how the world works, social cues, things that I couldn't have picked up growing in a very isolated, sheltered,
Hmm.
one story house. And I wanted to show how books can be used as a bridge to different places in the world, and how they can be used by even the poorest, most unprivileged people to really lift them up and teach them about the world, teach them about themselves, and teach them about emotions, and not only lift them up in terms of like educating them, but also spiritually by giving them a sense of connection when they don't have that. So it was
Hmm.
really important for me to highlight what books meant for those characters who needed connection and belonging the most.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I got Michelle's questions in. She said culture and tradition obviously play a crucial role for all the women in the story. It seems like they struggle against it in their own way, but also feel bound to follow it despite their desires for more. What was it like to create such different characters dealing with very similar struggles, despite, different generational differences?
Well, that's actually an interesting question, because even though I had different characters, one of the main themes of the novel was the cycle of repetition, and
Hmm.
how um, that this culture engraves some dark aspects of the culture can engrave dark patterns that we relay from one person to the next, or from one generation to the next. And so my three characters, Farida is this older woman who is a product of the refugee camps. Ezra is her daughter-in-law. Dea is Ezra's daughter. So we
Hmm.
have daughter, granddaughter, and then grandmother. And
Hmm.
they're all different generations. And yet there's this cycle of oppression, in a sense, of limitations of what it means to be a woman, this cycle of guilt, the cycle of shame that they're passing down to one another. And it was interesting for me to not only show how this cycle continues, but also how does Dea, the American, really deal with it, as
Hmm.
opposed to Ezra, who came to this country as an immigrant with no idea of what it means to be an American, no education, no language,
Hmm.
no future really, and what we really like, how privileged we are, and how that affects the way we respond to situations.
Hmm. Absolutely. And then I love what Dea, and I forget Dea's aunt's name was.
Sarah.
Sarah. Okay, thank you. I was thinking it started with a Z for some reason. I'm totally off on that. I've been so bad with characters' names lately. But it's interesting to see how Dea responded versus how her aunt responded, where her aunt just took off. And then you've got, oh crap, I think I might have given away a spoiler. Sorry, guys. Oop. Oh, Michelle, did you not get to that part yet? I'm sorry. Um, Sorry, guys. Total spoiler. Um, I'll make sure to put those warnings in the notes. But to see how, now that it's out there, how her aunt dealt with it versus how Dea dealt with it. Um, I'm assuming these are based on some, real women's stories of how they got dealt with the oppression.
Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. And yeah, for me, one of the things that also connected me with it is that, it wasn't just, we see from an outsider's perspective looking in on the Muslim culture that for some people, it's very foreign and different.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but I found a lot of similarities personally with the Christian religion. I was raised in a very strict Christian upbringing, and I saw a lot of similarities
Mhm.
between how women were treated when I was growing up, and versus how these women were treated. I didn't have such I had a very strict upbringing, and it was books, and I was also monitored about what books I was allowed to read. I was very strict on that. Um, Now, with doing this and going out with the press, the stuff in the book tour stuff, has there been how is this hit with like questions about with the religion, and how's this how I want to say it um how's it been received about kind of breaking those barriers?
Yeah, well, just to clarify that the book is about culture versus religion, and so the um, the conflicts that the characters face are entirely cultural. In
Mhm,
fact, Muslim Islam is a very uplifting religion that is very feminist in its nature.
mhm,
And that all of these beliefs that they're taught, like none of the characters in the book are religious at all. In
mhm,
fact, they're like, the grandmother is discouraging her granddaughter from wearing the headscarf, and because she thinks it's gonna scare suitors away, she doesn't pray. And so I think the community, on one hand, really respects the fact that I draw a very clear line between Arab culture and the
mhm,
Muslim religion because they're
mhm,
completely two separate things. Um, and so on that hand, they really respect that, especially in this age of Islamophobia, where everything that is like anything associated with Islam is like terrorism or something
mhm,
like that. But the book isn't about religion; it's about culture.
mhm, mhm,
But back to your point about that Christianity can sometimes be also a little bit overbearing, and that's something that I have had to like walk myself through and anticipate the responses for because I do talk about the dark aspects of Arab culture, which can be similar to a very, old fashioned tradition or old fashioned religion in a sense that some people don't like that you're exposing these secrets about their culture, you know?
mhm,
It's
mhm,
like telling
mhm,
your grandmother's, stories, which probably are embarrassing or are so strict even though they're true, it's still in a sense as if you're betraying your family or betraying your culture by letting out these dark secrets. So
mhm,
there has been some, backlash in that regard. But I think that's what you have to deal with when you're telling something that's authentic. You're gonna have
mhm,
to deal with controversy.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's one thing that can definitely be said about your book is that it's very authentic in the regards where you get that, like as Michelle noted, she was like, "Is this fiction?"
Mhm.
And so, Michelle, did you have? Are you? It looks like you're typing another question. Okay, good. um, and so I just completely lost my train of thought on that when I saw Michelle and asked her that. Um, so one of the things with the story, you get the question? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so more. This is more of an observation from Michelle. One of her favorite parts that she's reached so far was the first real exchange Isra had with Sarah when she's pregnant with her second child, and they talk about the 1001 Arabian Nights, how Scheherazade represented different things for both girls, which reflected a little bit of their upbringing and where they were raised. And I love that relationship between Sarah and Isra. I thought that was so good because you could see Isra's struggles reflected in you know Sarah and vice versa.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sorry, 1001 Arabian Nights is one of my favorite books too. So, I'm sorry, what was that?
I said I love those stories. I always used to read it, and so I thought it's such a beautiful contribution from the from the Middle East and from the
Mhm.
Arab world to
Mhm.
literature, and I wanted to kind of play on that idea and what those stories meant, especially since the heroine was a woman, a well-educated woman, and so it was just
Exactly.
need to like bring that back to life again.
Exactly. I mean, that's one of the things I love about all of these era-based books that are coming out this year. There's just like this flood of them, this whole wave, and I'm loving learning all of these different things because it's so frustrating hearing other the media outlets and things of that nature. And we've had Arab Americans here on the show. We've had Muslims on the show, and they're nothing like what you see on the media presented. And so I'm loving seeing these books come out because this is the best way that we learn how to empathize with another culture is through books. And one of the things Michelle asked is, did you always know you wanted to include the book in that book in the story or in the story?
It was there from the first draft. I didn't realize how I would be including it. I just Ezra was always reading it from the first draft that I wrote her, and she was always thinking about the stories in it and reflecting on them in terms of what they meant for her own life. But it was only later that I really like thought about how I wanted to use the stories and how I wanted to talk about Shahrazad and her contribution to um, feminism in a sense
Hmm.
by using her power of storytelling to save her life, essentially. So that
Hmm.
came to me a little bit later, but I'm glad I did.
I'm glad I did too. And there's, this for this book, even though you're looking at um, so many dark aspects within a culture, there's so much hope though too. I felt like I sat down the book and it wasn't um, with a sense of like dread, like, oh my god, I just want to burrow under the covers forever. I walked out with a sense, ended the book with a sense of hope that that everybody was going to end up being okay. That something that you wanted to make sure to have.
Yeah, I mean, the book itself, disregarding the ending, the book itself, it was very hard to write for me emotionally. I was depressed when I was writing it. It was making me more depressed. Thinking
Mm-hmm.
about these things was it's just taking a toll on me emotionally. So when I started reading through the book, I realized it was so dark.
Mm-hmm.
So dark to the point that sometimes like you kind of have to put it down from how dark it was. Because these are very serious and difficult issues and that there's no way to sugarcoat them really. And I thought that I would not do my characters in the story any justice by ending it on a dark note as well. Even if we know what the outcome is going to be or we can predict it, and if it's dark, there's no point to end it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, we should focus on what really matters in the story. And I feel like the way things end with Ezra, with Dea, you kind of get the sense that it ends on the moments. What matters? What are these characters doing? What choice are they doing? What is the decision that they made? Because this decision is the hope.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, it could be a lesson for all women out there. These are the choices that we should be making, and not the outcome of what happens, but what are the choices that we make?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Michelle texted me saying that I mentioned earlier that Farida was initially an easy character to hate, but that changes when you learn more about her story. How did her character evolve as you wrote her when you were for what you were just elaborating on what you were just talking about?
Well, it's actually I she was always my favorite character, Farida. It's interesting to write in the very early drafts. I mean, and then Ezra became my favorite character, but it was Farida first. And I think she was the only one where I really knew and understood from the beginning, from the very first word that came out of her mouth. I
Mm-hmm.
understood her character arc. It was just clear to me, you know, seeing real life Faridas all around me,
Mm-hmm.
real life Khalids, which is the grandfather figure, all around me. These classical tradition traumatized, people who are have so much baggage from the world that they've seen with war and violence in another country, just trying to make it, trying to survive, trying to feed their kids, trying to give them a better future. and how that sort of hardens you
Mhm.
and perhaps makes you not as idealistic and not as hopeful. And that's how Farida was. And it was easy for me to portray that on the page and to also show the readers why she's like this.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
doesn't just wake up like this, that the world has really made a warrior out of her.
Absolutely, and, that was one of the things, too, is that it was you could see this common thread with so many immigrants that come through where you wanna hold on to your culture, but yet there's a point where it becomes within future generations, it becomes Americanized, and
Yeah.
that's very, a struggle that everybody a lot of cultures deal with, and I feel like for some of us, having stories about immigrants, is so important because some of us are so removed from our immigrant roots,
Yeah.
that we forget what was like for our grandparents or our great
Mhm.
grandparents of what they had to deal with, um, in
Yeah.
regards to it. So in so many ways, I also felt like her story was very universal with her story and her husband's story, and so in many regards, because I mean, people aren't just going to necessarily pick up and move to another country on a whim. Uh,
Yeah.
there's a
Like,
preempt for in
we're
most cases.
like, why would you want to leave? Like, I don't think people really understand. That's like saying, I'm gonna leave the comfort of my home here in America,
Hmm.
where I am, I've lived here my entire life. I speak the language, I know the customs, I know the food, I know the weather.
Hmm.
And I'm just gonna go live in Costa Rica,
Hmm.
where I don't know the language, I don't know the culture, I don't know the weather, I don't have a home, I don't like nobody does that.
Yeah.
Death is the only option or starvation or
Hmm.
poverty.
Hmm.
Like when people come to America, it's not because it's they don't have really another option. And
Hmm.
how, transforming that your life, your entire life, learning a new language, just walking streets where you don't know what you're doing.
Hmm.
That it takes a lot of strength and it must have taken a lot of trauma to even get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where, like, I'm Italian, and I look at, a lot of our, Italian roots, and it was my great grandparents who had immigrated. And it wasn't until I was older that I was actually really studying Italian history, where I could see that people in southern Italy, where my grandparents came from, they were so poor that they would tell stories where they would scrape off the plaster from their walls and make a paste out of that and eat that because that was their only option for food. That's how much poverty there was in southern Italy at that time. Um, but you speak to some Italians now, and there's no clue about it. There's no
Mhm.
connection as to what their family went through to get over here. And and I feel like sometimes it translates into no empathy for the immigrants that are coming over.
Yeah.
And Michelle has another observation. She says really loved how you not only showcased these women's culture, but you also highlighted the diversity of America just in a few different neighborhoods of New York and its boroughs. Um, I think New York is one of those really unique cities where you're able to do that. You can't really do that very well in other cities. So setting it in New York, I'm assuming you're from New York. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn. So,
Okay.
I mean, I said it in Brooklyn because that's where I'm from and I felt comfortable setting it there. But, if I really had to write this story as someone and like randomly said it, I think Brooklyn is a beautiful place because it is the melting pot of the world in a
Hmm.
sense of America at least. And like when you're on the streets of Brooklyn, there's every culture you can possibly imagine, every ethnicity, every race. And I thought it was really interesting for me to set it in Brooklyn because there's these like little pockets of like families that only know about that community. Like so there's Arabs and then there's like Chinese, like Greek, Russians, Italians, and they're all like in their little pockets. And it was like interesting for me to have the characters, be in America, but also be in their like little Arab town too.
Hmm. Hmm.
It is a very like heavily populated Arab city.
Absolutely, yeah, and one of the wonderful things about New York being New York is that it's like you go a couple streets over. It's been a long time since I've been in New York. I've been to New York since I was a teenager, and I grew up in upstate New York, so we used to go all the time. But you have It
Yeah.
feels like you're more on top of each other
Mhm.
in that city, and so you can just go a couple blocks and you're facing another culture with, another culturally diverse, different neighborhood, something slightly different from yours. Here in LA, we're very diverse, but we got to get in our car and drive to the
Yeah.
other neighborhood. I've got to get in my car to drive to Koreatown or to drive to an area that's predominantly Hispanic.
Mhm.
So you don't really get that over here like you do there. So and having them in that pocket, was cool how you did that and how they are also facing that diversity um, as well. And one of the things, Michelle, another observation from her is that she is so bummed out that her sound isn't working because
I'm
she's.
sorry, Michelle.
I know. You can tell it's like I feel like I'm missing a limb during the interview, not having her, bouncing in like we normally do. So we're going to have to figure something out to fix this. That's going to have to be priority one this week. But she was saying she was absolutely in love with the way you bring the reader into these characters' lives and culture. Um, she's like, I've never had chai, but I really want to try chai now. Which I've never had chai, I think, the way they've had it.
Yeah, it's like, and it's not chai. Well, thank you, Michelle. I wish I could make some for you. It's not chai, it's shay. It's
Okay.
it's really simple actually, because it's written chai like spice chai, like Indian chai,
Okay.
but it's not really chai. It's shay, which is you know just black tea, and you get a few sprigs of mint, and
Okay.
um you boil the water, and you right when the water has boiled over a few times, you throw in the mint, and you throw in the bag or two of black tea and some sugar,
Okay.
and then you close the thing, and you close the eye or whatever, and you take it off the heater, and then you let it like steep for a couple of minutes, and then you pour it, and it's like a tea, but it's like so minty because the actual mint leaves are in there, and it's sweet. It's like
Okay.
very bright colored, and it's just called shay. And it's if you go to a Lebanese or a Palestinian, if you go to a hookah bar, they all
Mhm.
have that. They all serve that. You can say, "I want mint tea," and they'll serve it for you.
Ooh, I'll have to try that. And I was thinking, like, when you were going through the recipe, I'm like, I've got some black tea in my cupboard. I can go to the market and get some
Okay,
mint.
I
I
think
could try making it.
you can just look up Arabic mint tea recipe, and
Okay.
it's so simple. It's delicious.
Okay. I will have to do that. I'll have to look it up and we'll share a link for that online because now we all have to try that. But thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure to have you on. It was such a pleasure to fangirl over the book and lose my words over how lovely it is. It's absolutely lovely.
Thank you.
Michelle and I are loving every bit of it. Um, so thank you so much for joining us and for writing such a good book.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Michelle, for your questions over text. Um, Thank you guys so much, and this was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. So, Michelle, you can come back on now.
This is the saddest thing ever.
I know. We're going to have to switch to like Zoom or something, I think, because this is just not working right.
Did she give like a kick-ass recipe for chai? Is that what I'm guessing just happened?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going
And
to
it's
download
Shay.
our
It's pronounced, she taught us it was pronounced Shay. It's spelled like
Shay.
chai,
Okay.
but it's pronounced Shay.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go and I have to find it online and share it with everybody too. So you can have a recipe too.
I'm going to have to download our own episode. I will help boost our numbers so I can hear what she said.
I appreciate your team effort.
My gosh. I'm drinking I'm at my mom's house right now in North Carolina. So I've raided her wine fridge. This is like such a good red wine, but it made the room 1,000 degrees right now. I'm dying.
I feel you. I'm drinking the Lost Poet. And it's, yeah, I'm warmer now than I was when I first started drinking it.
But really though, I feel like I just worked out and I did not.
Well, isn't it like one glass of red wine is the equivalent of working out? You burn as many calories as a workout?
Well, in that case, I have worked out twice today.
Oh, fantastic. Go you with your healthy self.
It's
Yeah,
the saddest. Oh,
we
you
gotta get
go.
the sound fixed
That's
because yeah,
ridiculous.
I know. I felt like I lost. I had I lost a lamb because I'm like my gosh. See,
There
I
are
don't
no
have anybody. I
words.
don't have a rhythm. We're all messed up, guys. Guys, I am so sorry.
We'll have it fixed by next week. Even if we're
Mhm,
not doing our usual setup, we'll figure it out.
mhm.
And I can't type. I can only type so fast to like
I know. I know.
get a question out. I'm
Come on,
like,
girl.
I hope you're not answering this right now.
Oh, and I forgot you couldn't hear her, so that was just like, because we could hear you just fine. You just couldn't hear her. Just
Yeah,
so weird.
I muted myself in case like the gulping of my wine could come through on my headphones. So I'm like, no one needs to hear that without my beautiful. I don't know. I'm not a soprano. Whatever this is, a bass.
Okay.
I don't know. It's been a long, hard day.
It has been. You guys went to like the animal farm or some
Yeah.
zoo?
We went to like this rescue zoo that takes in all these animals, and we saw a very inappropriate baboon
Oh, lovely. Tell me about the inappropriate baboon.
doing things that he should not be doing in front of children.
Baboons don't give a
But
shit.
he did not care. He was just out there doing his thing, literally.
I think that's gonna be my next episode. Baboons just don't give a fuck.
Fortunately, neither kid asked, "What is he doing?" We were just, "Let's go look at these monkeys. They're swinging from their tails." But yeah, but we made it through the whole day. We've been driving basically across the East Coast. So I got new tab. Whoa.
I swear I'm not even through my first glass of wine. I swear.
I got new tablets for the kids so they wouldn't drive me crazy on the drive over, but they've become very attached to their tablets. So I'm trying to like break them of the habit. We went all day with no tablets. Woo! It's a big moment for me.
That totally is. Because I mean, it feels like if you give, not a mom yet, but I can understand when like parents are like, oh my God, you have this technology, then you take it away. It's like giving a kid crack in a lot of ways. It's what it feels like from what I hear from other parents.
I mean, there's one game on their tablet I've actually downloaded onto my phone because I like it so much. And and I like fight them for their tablets, like, let me have a turn. So it can be very addicting, but like I don't want their brains to melt in their skulls.
Mm.
So we made it through the whole day without a tablet. And no tantrums over tablets too.
Oh, that's good too. Because I mean, yeah, nobody wants a tantrum over a tablet. Nobody wants a tantrum to begin with.
No, we don't. No.
I mean, tantrums are never pretty, regardless of your age.
No, they're not.
No.
But anyway, so you have caught up with me now on
I believe I
basically.
have. Yeah, because I'm on chapter 7.
Okay. So where are you? So I won't ruin any spoilers.
Oh, you're talking to me, huh? I said it. I was like, oh, crap.
I was trying to figure out who the bookstore lady was.
I am so sorry about that. You know what? I will let you spoil something for me, for Woman 99, to get even.
Well, I don't have anything good yet, but you wait. I will.
Okay, you go ahead and you do that, because I got it coming.
I'll get a good one and be like, da-da-da-da-da-da. Phoebe already broke out of a mental hospital. Boom. She didn't. I don't know. That's just my guess.
It's possible. I mean, I'm at this point. She hasn't seen her sister yet. She's looking all over the place for her sister. And maybe she already broke out and she doesn't know that yet. How sucky would that be?
Oh my
Go
God.
in to save your sister and she's already gone.
But can I just point out that this book is making me really want to research all the muses? Because I didn't actually know that there were 9. I thought there were 3.
That's the fates. There are 3 fates.
Oh, Okay, so I got them confused.
But I didn't know that there were 9 muses. I knew there were muses, but I didn't know there were only 9.
Well, I didn't know that there were as many as 9.
Mm.
So it's making me want to research the Greek muses and learn more about them, because especially I really like, I mean, as much as I hate this mental hospital and want it to crumble to the ground and let all the women go free, I find it really interesting how each like ward is assigned a muse that kind of like describes
That's what
their
that is. Oh my gosh. Now I made that connection. Thank you, Michelle.
Here to help. Can't talk to authors, but I will break down a storyline.
Thank you. I did not make that connection, and I love that even more. And I totally understand why you want to go and research the muses now.
Right? So yeah, so that's what I want to do. And all right, so what is, I'm completely blanking on her name, the friend that she has made in there?
Oh, there's my Woman 99 book. I like stacked other books on top of it. I'm getting together books to give away for the LA Festival of Books. By the way, guys, if you're there this weekend, come check me out. I'm going to be at booth 912, live podcasting from the Women's National Book Association's booth. Nice little plug in there. So, yeah, I was going through my books to see which ones I was giving away, because we're doing a giveaway for people who sign up for our newsletter, for the Women's National Book Association newsletter. So if you guys want a free book, come by, get a free book, sign up. But going back to your question, who's her friend? Was it Nora?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
I wanted to say Nora. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm in the middle of chapter 7, by the way.
So have you found out how Nora knows so as much as she does, and how she can get things done?
No, I have not gotten to that point yet. I'm in the middle of chapter 7.
That is a spoiler I could spoil for you.
Which you totally can, but I'm going to let you do it off air, so as not to ruin it for some of our listeners, because, I mean, what goes around comes around. Yeah, you know, one of the things I wanted to mention was Greer's got a great way of writing swoon-worthy characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like Henry. Like, we haven't really met him too much.
We haven't met him, like, present day, you know, like, present timeline.
But we've seen him through her memories.
And he seems so nice.
Like a nice guy. And I love how she talks about his beard.
Well, yeah.
She focuses on the beard. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a guy with a good beard. A nice, and I mean, a good beard, I mean nice and well trimmed. No lumberjack beards here, ladies.
Happy birthday, Ryan, by the way.
Oh, that's... God, I am so useless tonight.
Please let him know I said happy birthday.
Yes, it is my husband's birthday today. And I'm a terrible wife for not wishing him a happy birthday on the podcast. So happy birthday, honey! I love you!
See, I have now planted the seeds for at least one other download, because now he's going to download it to listen to his happy birthday wishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe because his wife forgot to wish him happy birthday on the show.
You didn't forget. You were just waiting.
I mean, I wished him a happy birthday, like, in person. Like, when he came home from work this morning, I woke up and wished him a happy birthday, and then accidentally woke him up and wished him a happy birthday. And I'm going to have the weekend off with him.
Sorry. I couldn't let it go.
I feel so bad for him because he's sick. He's got a sinus infection.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it's kind of like he's going to have a sucky birthday weekend, because it's like he was going to go to the book festival with me. We were talking about going to a tiki bar. And he's like literally hacking up along, and he's like, I'm still okay to go to a tiki bar. And I'm like, no, honey, we need to get our insurance squared away, because, you know, job transition stuff going on with him. So I'm like, get your health stuff squared away. And then when you're not contagious anymore, then we can go to a tiki bar. And he's like, but I can do a tiki bar. I want to go to a tiki bar. I was like, no, I want you to have antibiotics, babe. I'll be
Put
fine.
Antibiotics in a tiki mug.
Right?
And play some, like, tiki bar music. And
what is it with guys who don't go to doctors?
I am
Why don't
married
they go to a doctor?
to one such man. Like,
Seriously.
they could be like bleeding, like holding a limb in their hand, and I'm fine.
Right?
I'll take an aspirin. It'll be fine. Don't worry.
Right? He's getting the health insurance squared away, which I mean we haven't been able to sign up for it just yet for his new health insurance. So he's dealing with that, dealing with the work transition stuff. He can't take time off to get better, so he's having to go into work sick. And I'm like, okay, so you're gonna get this taken care of, and as soon as this is, you're signed up, you're gonna go to the doctor, right? No,
All the
I'll be fine.
appointments.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'll be fine. No, you need antibiotics.
Boys.
I know. But yeah, I mean, Henry, hopefully he goes to the doctor when
He
Phoebe
takes
tells him
care of his
to,
health.
right?
Charlotte tells him to.
That's what I meant. You see, I am so off tonight. I've got a 3-day weekend, and I'm just like, my brain's just checked out for the weekend. I swear.
You're on Saturday already.
I totally am. I swear, it feels like because I'm doing a lot to prepare for the festival, for our booth. So I've been managing what authors are going to have. We got a great lineup for all of authors, and I'm making sure I've got everything together. And so all of that's just been going on in my head. And it's like when I've been able to sit down and read this, it's been like, okay, I can just block out all the emails and I can just read. I love this because that's where my brain's been this week. It's been just out there. So I'm just going to drink more wine because it's the only thing to do.
Sounds like a solid plan to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I actually forgot a little bit momentarily about Henry because I was going to say Woman 99 is different from her other two books in that it didn't and I guess it is true in that it doesn't have a strong male character in the current storyline. Like I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if maybe he'll notice that Charlotte is gone. And
I would think that her family's already noticed at this point. At least her mother's noticed. So he's going to know that his fiance is just taken off.
Well, she told her mother not to write to her because she wouldn't want to be homesick. So she has...
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Like 6 or 8 weeks of no contact before anyone is going to start getting worried about her. So I don't know, maybe Henry will... But I know Greer and I know her stories, and she's not going to let any man come in and swoop in and save the day. Her girls are going to take care of themselves.
Yes, they do.
So,
her girls are very good about taking care of themselves.
So Henry's not going to be the hero, but maybe he'll be like Clive from The Magician's Lie, where he helps.
Yes. I like how he's Clive was a sidekick.
Yeah, he was an awesome sidekick, and he she set the stage for her escape, and he was the one who flipped the trap door to let her finish the illusion. So maybe Henry will be the same, where he just kind of provides the last piece that they need to get out.
I would hope so, probably.
Or maybe he'll bring Nellie Bly to San Francisco and tell her to expose this hospital.
Well, it's possible that he can help and set up because his brother used to be the director. If you caught that,
that's true.
So he's got connections. There's family connections, and my dog is just
she is all over you.
You'd think that I was gone for years.
You were gone for 8 hours. What happened?
Oh my God, Mommy, my life came to an end. Yeah, you saw it during the interview. If you guys are watching, I'm moving my hands, and she's reaching for my hands. No, you should be holding me. And I had to put her down at one point because she was so distracting. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this dog. She rolled in poop again. In turtle poop again.
I was just thinking, literally, during the interview, didn't we talk about something outrageous about turtles at some point in time?
During Greer's last book, the last time we had Greer's book on, we had a turtle poop incident.
There we go.
Yeah, the other night, I'm on the phone talking with the WNBA president about stuff for the festival. Dog's on my lap, not paying attention. I start petting her, and I realize her fur's kind of crusty. And yeah,
Gross.
from her shoulder blade up her neck and up her chin is just all turtle poop.
Gross. That's
Yeah,
gross.
and it was all kicked in. She's got this really pretty blinged out collar. And it was all up in there. And I was so angry. And I got off the phone and I put her in the shower and she's like shivering and like it's a warm shower, mind you, but she's a drama queen. And she's, not happy in the shower. And I'm like scolding her, like, this is what you get. Why can't I have girly dogs? If you don't want bats, you don't go rolling around on turtle poop.
You tell her.
Right? Like, she'll listen to me. All I wanted was a girly dog. I thought she was a girly dog, and then she goes and rolls in turtle poop.
Well, maybe she was having an off day.
No, I think she thinks of the turtle poop like kind bars.
Okay.
Well, you feed the turtle
there
nothing
you
but
go.
like fruit and vegetables, so I mean, dogs are gross, guys. I mean, I don't know about you cat owners out there if the cats are any better. I don't know, is fish any better than dogs? Because dogs can get gross. I mean, I know kids can get gross too, and I'm sure they're probably grosser than the dogs.
They have their moments.
Yeah, dogs have their moments too. Dogs get messy. I feel like I don't necessarily need kids because I've got 2 dogs. So I kind of get a taste of what it's like. Like 2 dogs equal 1 kid with the messiness and the demandingness of them. I mean, you put my 2 dogs together, they kind of like stack them one on top of each other. They're like the size of a kid.
It depends. I mean, I don't think Landon's ever done anything like truly gross. Lily has once, and only once. It was and it was a Monday, and I was like, nope, not dealing with this. But no, they're pretty good. But fish doesn't really do anything gross yet.
Did
you hear that?
Yes, I did.
No, he thinks he is a dog, so he'll just do the gross dog stuff.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah. But since we are completely rambling, and my glass is, yeah, there we go. That a girl. Finish it. Kill it.
Not like there wasn't much there to chug.
I had like 1 drop left. I guess we're close enough that we could probably close for the evening.
Okay.
We will have the sound issue worked out by next week. I'm really sorry, you guys, that we had to do it this way 2 weeks in a row now. I really don't know what's going on. I'll take my laptop in to see if it's on my end or if it's. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, guys. We will have Michelle on for the whole time so you can get the full effect of the Diana Michelle show. Because we gotta have you on at the same time as Greer.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there's going to be issue. I mean, we're going to figure out something by the time Greer comes on because it's going to be a party when the 3 of us are on.
Even if I have to sit on speakerphone on your phone.
I thought about doing that with you tonight.
We might have to do that if push comes to shove.
Because at first I thought you could hear Etaf.
I thought I could too. I thought I heard her when I first joined, and then all of a sudden her mouth was moving, and I was like, oh no. Can't hear her.
I know. We're gonna have to figure out what's going on and fix this. But because I gotta have you on next week. Like I said,
it's not the same.
It's not. I can't carry the team by myself.
And I'm done texting my questions. That's ridiculous.
Right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love you. I don't mind texting the questions, but I mean, I need my BFF on the show with me.
Absolutely.
Because this is an effort.
So if you guys are in LA, go check out Diana at the book fair this weekend and say hi. And if you're in the Midwest, I'm really sorry that you guys got pummeled with more snow. And I'm glad I am not there because it was 80 degrees and beautiful out today in North Carolina.
But if you guys are not in LA for the LA Festival of Books, be sure to check out Facebook Live or Facebook, because I'm going to be Facebooking live from the Women's National Book Association's page and sometimes from our page too. So we'll be doing some Facebook Lives, we'll be recording live. So I'll also have the episode up
Cool.
with the different interviews.
Sweet.
Yes,
All
so
right.
be sure to check it out, guys. See you.
And keep reading, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.